Some red states are already cooking up plans to continue the assault on medication abortion. When the mifepristone case was first filed in 2022, just months after Roe v. Wade was overturned at the High Court, Republican attorneys general from Kansas, Missouri, and Idaho all tried to intervene. They weren't allowed to do so by the Supreme Court, which denied that intervening role. But now these states are poised to take another bite at the apple, bringing new claims in a new case that will take aim at access to medication abortion once again. And the attorneys general in Kansas and Missouri have already said that they are going to continue to push forward with legal challenges. Joining me now to discuss is Democratic Congresswoman Sharice Davids of Kansas. Welcome, Congresswoman. What are the implications for abortion access nationwide if states like Kansas, Missouri, and Idaho continue their fight to ban medication abortion?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you were saying that, the access has been protected for now. And seeing some of these extreme politicians and extreme actors pushing these extreme policies are, it's not just scary, it's dangerous. And I think we just have to remain vigilant and keep in mind that we can celebrate the small wins. Where we have some protections for now, but we do have to make sure that we're keeping our eye on the ball, like you said, and not letting people like Kris Kobach, who, by the way, does not speak for the vast majority of Kansans, as we saw in August of 2022. The vast majority of Kansans do not want politicians interfering in our reproductive health care decisions, including access to abortion. And, I just think that I keep pushing back against these guys.
So you mentioned Kris Kobach, and he is the Attorney General of Kansas. We should also note that Kansas has been a really crucial state for reproductive rights, especially when the electorate has the opportunity to directly register their preference for reproductive freedom. We saw in 2022 that Kansans went to the ballot box and they overwhelmingly rejected an anti-abortion ballot measure. So my question for you then is, who exactly is Attorney General Kris Kobach representing in this fight to ban medication abortion?
I think Kris Kobach has demonstrated time and time again that he represents Kris Kobach and his own extreme views and positions. We have seen for too many years when he was Secretary of State, he was spending time in other states pushing extreme policies. He was busy trying to get people off of the voter rolls. And, I do think that a state like Kansas, when you've got the vast majority of people, like you said, overwhelmingly, people pushed back and said, we do not want politicians interfering in our private healthcare decisions. We don't want politicians being the ones to make those decisions. I quite honestly am so confused every single time I see something that Kris Kobach is doing.
So the question of reproductive freedom does not just... Well, I think we're all a little confused. What isn't confusing, though, is that this issue of reproductive freedom doesn't just concern abortion, but other issues of intimate life. So on Thursday, the Senate Republicans blocked a Democratic-led bill that would codify broad federal protections for in vitro fertilization. That bill was blocked. Where do Democrats go from here to ensure that individuals can choose whatever route is right for them to form their families?
Look, at the end of the day, one of the things that we're facing right now is truly attacks from every single angle of this. We've got folks like our Attorney General in Kansas attacking medication abortion. We've got folks in other states that are coming after people's ability to grow their family or to have a family in attacks on IVF. And when you think about the impact that this is having on individuals, like this is not just a thought experiment. There are people whose families are being threatened and people who are dying right now. We have to make sure that we are informing people about who are these extreme politicians? Kris Kobach is obviously the one that I am going to be making sure that folks know about in Kansas, but every single one of us has some of these folks in our states. And I'm very, very fortunate that I know that the folks in Kansas don't want to see these extreme things happening. The extremism that we're seeing in every single corner of each of our states is something that so many people have demonstrated time and time again. We've been pushing back against this stuff. I can tell you that I'm very vocal about my position on government interference on any of this stuff. The idea that the government should be deciding whether you can or can't have access to IVF is ludicrous. It's unacceptable. And I know I'm not the only person out here who is pushing back against those things and fighting for good legislation that's going to help protect that, whether it's access to IVF or making sure that people have access to the full range of reproductive health care services.
Well, thank you for sharing that perspective from the Sunflower States. That's Sharice Davids, representative from Kansas.